watching and witnessing participants have that paradigm shift where, wow, I know this firsthand. I'm perceiving the energy run through me. And we use a software called biofield imaging. And we actually use two different platforms, so it gives quite a different variation of looking at that so that we can help people with their physical senses see it, which then seems to speed up the process. And then they start perceiving it without the physical sense. And again, they go to, hey, this is real. This isn't just maybe. I'm not sure. This is real.
What if all the information pertaining to your health and vitality wasn't located in your physical body? All the information you need is contained within this energy surrounding your physical body. Welcome to Energy Medicine, where we explore the intersection of science, consciousness, and the body's innate ability to heal itself. I'm Dr. Mary, your host, and today's conversation is one that expands beyond the physical. We're diving into the world of altered states of consciousness, brainwave entrainment, and the profound intelligence of energy. Joining me today is Allyn Evans, the CEO of the Monroe Institute, a globally recognized institution that explores conscious evolution. She's the visionary executive. She also is a meditation guide and a co-creator of the Energy Medicine program. Together, we'll explore how sound, frequency, and awareness can shift your internal state and ultimately your life. Let's begin. Welcome, Allyn, to the podcast Energy Medicine, where we talk about all things that align the mind, body, and spirit. And I'm so excited to have you as a guest today because we're going to have a dynamic conversation. I just know it. I feel it within the tissues of my body, and I just know it to be true. And I want to share with the audience that Allyn has been with the Monroe Institute, which I've never been. Okay, so Allyn started as a participant in 2009. Right. Then in 2011, she kind of changed and pivoted and started being one of the instructors. And then recently, 4 years ago, she stepped into the role of CEO and said, this is the lady, listeners, who is embodying the principles of what it is that she teaches, what she shares, what she stands for with the entire Institute and with all of the students. So welcome to the show, Energy Medicine.
Thank you. What a welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, my honor to hold space. And Energy Medicine is not new on this podcast. Obviously, this is what we talk about. But I always love aligning myself with people such as you, because I know that we share a heavy, solid foundational truth. And yet we are going to speak to that truth in different words. Right. So I'm really happy to have you here. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay. So Allyn, in your own words, how do you define energy medicine? I know that you personally may have a definition, and then perhaps the Monroe Institute has a different definition as supporting other people who are looking to learn more about energy medicine.
Right. So I think, and I was taught by, he was my co-creator for the course Energy Medicine that still exists today at the Monroe Institute. His name was Brian Daly. He was an emergency medicine physician in Rochester, New York. And one of the most, I would say, meaningful understandings that he passed on to me was it really is about intention. And so I would say that's the underlying mechanism when you're thinking about energy medicine. Then, of course, I'm in a very limited role of energy medicine because I've focused on the energy healing side of it. So and because of my teacher was Brian Daly, his pathway was Reiki, so that's my pathway. And we do have the course, like you mentioned, and so I wouldn't say that Monroe has its own definition of energy medicine or a label, but what we do is we offer twice a year at least, and it's so interesting, Mary. Guess what we're teaching this week at the Institute?
My guess would be energy medicine.
Yeah, I just had lunch. with the participants of the energy medicine program. So we just create an environment to help people again understand they're more than their physical bodies, to go from believing this is true, meaning believing we can heal with intention, we can use energy to heal, to knowing, because they experience it. And that's the whole thing about the Institute. Like, yes, we have trainers, and yes, we'll be telling you about our own experiences, but what we want, and if Bob Monroe were alive today, that's what he would say: go experience it for yourself. So we want you to come tell us what just happened, not us tell you about what happened, in our experience, because that's how you go again from believing to knowing. And that's one of my favorite things about, I used to train this course here on campus, and I'm actually going to England next week and training it in England, but watching and witnessing participants have that paradigm shift where, wow, I know this firsthand. I'm perceiving the energy run through me. And we use a software called biofield imaging, and we actually use two different platforms, so it gives quite a different variation of looking at that, so that we can help people with their physical senses see it, which then seems to speed up the process, and then they start perceiving it without the physical sense. And again, they go to, hey, this is real. This isn't just maybe. I'm not sure. This is real.
I love how you're taking possibly a complex definition of what is energy medicine. I think sometimes people fumble with their words. It's like, well, it's something kind of out there. It's something kind of, we really can't see it, but it involves an electromagnetic field. And I like how you say, Allyn, it's just about intention.
Yeah.
And so we know that energy follows, you and I know with the trillion cells of our body, that energy follows thoughts and intentions.
Right.
And the thing that I love hearing you say is that we don't want you to understand this on an intellectual lens. Right. We want you to embody it. We want you to have your own personal experience, so you can then tell us what you're experiencing.
Right. And that stems from Bob Monroe. That's how he started this.
And so Brian, he was your original instructor, Brian Daly. Now, he was an MD, right? He was an MD in practicing in energy medicine. Yes. And he was coming to you with the concept and the notion that Reiki, which is, a modality that's been around for years, had he embodied this post MD, or was this something that he had an awareness of before he went into medical school?
So it was after medical school, but what happened, and I'm not sure exactly when in his career he got introduced to this, but he would bring it in and he was not a energy medicine practitioner. He was he was in the emergency rooms. He was emergency medicine, and then he had an emergency clinic, and so he would bring these concepts and also use his techniques on patients without announcing, this is Reiki, but he just saw, he was doing it at least for 30 years in this practice or working with patients. And his colleagues, the way he would tell the story, his colleagues recognized that there was something that he could do with patients that they couldn't do, and they would call him in for very difficult cases, whether it's someone that was out of control emotionally or someone that was really suffering with cancer. One of his expertise was helping people who were undergoing cancer treatments.
I have a short story to share, and I think it's in alignment with. Okay. It warms my heart to know that a physician within the traditional medical model is bringing this in and in subtle ways, right? And making a big difference in the outcome. So currently I am undergoing a program with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it's a healthcare, specifically for healthcare providers. And we talk about the coherence, talking about the heart coherence and what that means as far as being in present time consciousness with your patient.
Right.
And there was an oncologist physician, a surgeon, who spoke up one day, and he's like, what would it be like for me to do a heart lock-in with my patient before I put them underneath anesthesia?
Yeah.
And I thought, that's brilliant, simply brilliant, to bring it into I'm going to say in an unconventional environment, but that's my world,
Right.
in a surgical environment to bring this forth. I think that's absolutely lovely.
Right. And in Monroe Institute, we use something called the reball. We call it the resonant energy balloon. And Brian would do the same thing. He would use his energy field to surround himself, fortify himself, but then he would also create another one that would bring the two together. So that's more of that heart-to-heart connection, just done a different way, so that there could be, a much more open channel for healing and acceptance.
There's an entrainment that occurs, right? And so you've got the individual biofield of one person, and then another, and then you're opening it in, so there's more collective energy to serve the outcome up for the patient. That's just absolutely lovely.
Good intentions.
Absolutely. And Allyn, tell me a little bit more about, you have a couple of different platforms that you use in the school to help your students to better understand the physical sense of what the energy field might look or feel like. So what kind of assessment tools are there?
So primarily it's the biofield imaging that I talked about. It used to be called PIP, and that was created by Harry Oldfield, who is no longer living. And then Thornton Streeter has expanded on that. And I think it is called biofield imaging, if you're wanting to look at it. But it's so interesting because you can see before pictures, after pictures. During energy medicine, we do that. We take the field when you first get here. We take it all throughout, and then we also take it closer to the end. It's very interesting what you can see. You can also manage your energy. So when I talked about the reball, the resonant energy balloon, we can expand that, we can shrink it, and then we can use the biofield imaging to help people see that. So
it provides an immediate feedback for people. And so then it becomes more real. It becomes more tangible in real time, practical application. I have to share, I have what is called a BioWell machine.
Yes, I know about those.
And I love this machine because for that very specific reason, I can do a pre-session assessment. I can get a baseline as to their energy, their vitality, the organ balance. I can do post-session, and then we can immediately see, where energy in joules is coming out of the chakra system or the biofield, or, it's such a powerful tool. I've been practicing energy medicine for probably over 20 years. And finally, I have a tool that can show people. It's just, I love it when the light bulb goes on and the level of optimism and excitement goes on for the patient as well.
Right. And we have one of those here, actually. And so the energy medicine practitioners or participants will get to experience the BioWeld. So, and it's a kind of a mini biofield imaging. It's similar concept that it's working on.
All right. Before we continue, I want to take a moment and acknowledge the depth of what Allyn is sharing. The idea that we can consciously shift our energetic state and reconnect to ourselves in real time. If you're feeling called to experience that for yourself, I've created a set of 3 guided meditations specifically designed to help you ground your nervous system, disconnect from the overwhelm, and realign with the present moment. Stay tuned to the end of the show. I will share a QR code for you. All right. So what else are you teaching in this course?
So Brian Daly had a fabulous crystal collection. And he rented a trailer from Rochester, and he would drive it here just full of crystals. And I mean, when I say a nice crystal collection, it's massive, for one individual to have. And the reason he was fortunate enough to have it is because he was really good friends with a famous gemologist called Bill Pinch, who also is no longer living. And so he was able to get so many like Vogel crystals, the ones that have the, I can't remember how many sides, like 24 or 32 sides that were created by Vogel. You have to Google that. But anyway,
Okay.
he has a really nice collection that he wouldn't have had just if he were, doing this without that support. And then he donated it to us. So we have the benefit of pulling it out. I went over there after lunch and looked at the layout, and it's like 6 tables just filled with crystals. And then the participants get to use those in their practice sessions. They do meditations in what we call the check unit, which is where all our meditations take place. And that's in your space that you're sleeping, but it's also where you meditate. And it stands for Controlled Holistic Environmental Chamber. That was a Bob Monroe term. But it's just a very private space for you to experience the sound technology. So we use Reiki, we use sound technology, and then we have the crystals. And so you get a big exposure to the crystals and the value of that.
As I'm sitting here, I'm tapping into the vibration of the room, and boy, that's a beautiful feel.
Well, I was telling some participants at lunch today, when we do programs, typically it's focused on the sound technology. So that's the focus, that's what's there. With energy medicine, you've got the sound technology, you have the crystals, and then you've got Reiki going on, and it just creates a powerful force that really we witness miracles for people, just right there.
Do you have a favorite story that you like to share when you talk about the miracles that you've seen?
Yeah, so there's 2 that come to mind that are documented, and one of them has a sad ending though. But when we were in England about 5 years ago, we had a participant come, and his brain was filled with tumors, and the number I remember is 30 to 40, and so he was getting close, of course, to the end, and he chose to come to our energy medicine course. So I hold that very reverently. Because there are other things he could have been doing. It's a week of your life. And after he left, he went back to the doctor and the tumors were gone. The sad part is they came back, and they came back within a year. And so we don't understand, people say, well, how can that happen? What does that mean? We don't know, but it could be that it was a gift for him to have some health-free, or, where he was healthy, time to spend with loved ones, to travel, or was it that he was still working on something that just never resolved itself, and that energy just could not be released? We don't know, but you can experience miracles, but then you can be confused by the outcome. Then we had another person, and it was also in New York. We were near Rochester, New York, and we do what we call Reiki shares, and that's when we bring in people from outside the class, like neighbors or friends. And this gentleman came in that also had tumors on his intestines. And after the session, he was tumor-free. And to my knowledge, that continued. He didn't have a relapse or a remission.
Those are both 2 beautiful, beautiful stories. And,
Yeah.
who are we? And I understand, I feel what you're saying. The first story possibly didn't have a positive outcome, but maybe that was the outcome that served him to his highest good. Right.
And that's what people don't, I think, understand sometimes when you're looking at these situations. And I'm a big believer in the work of David Hawkins. And, one of the things that he talks about is that every life that's being lived is for the highest potential for that soul to evolve. And so from the outside looking into each life, it can look like that's so hard, or why does that person have to endure that? And instead, this is the Earth life system, as Bob would say, and it's set up for us to evolve and to reach our highest potential, hopefully in this lifetime. And then the other part is, after this life, we want to be more evolved, and so we have to go through these experiences, and sometimes they are really hard, whether it's health or whether it's just something that's happened in your life that has pulled you in, external conflict, or maybe something that you even caused yourself. But I believe all those things are by design to help us evolve and become better humans,
Yeah, I do. I agree as well. And I do think that the energy that is expressed through the human body, right? The
Yeah.
physical tissues, as we look through the nervous system and the autonomic nervous system and its relationship with the chakras, I think that, we go through levels, layers of consciousness with the physical 3 energy centers, and then the transition of the beautiful heart, and then the upper 3 energy centers.
Yeah.
And I do think that when it comes to the autonomic nervous system, the stuff that's programmed within the limbic system, that's hard to release, potentially can be really hard to release, as far as belief system that you've conditioned your body around and the environment for years.
Right. And the thing that's the beauty of the work at Monroe. So the beauty of this work, and Bob Monroe, I don't think even realized what was happening as he created this system, but it opens up a doorway for subconscious to conscious mind communication. And that is such a beautiful thing, because that what you were just talking about is what I think can be, wreaking havoc with their energetic system, our immune system, and it's things we're not even consciously aware of that are driving what our intentions, our behaviors, our thoughts. And so that's why I think it's so important to do some type of meditative practice or dream analysis or something similar, so that you open that doorway. Mm-hmm. And the more you bring that to your conscious mind, the more you can heal. Yeah.
I agree. And I'm going to expand upon this, because I think this is an important concept, right? So we're talking about brainwave frequencies.
Yeah.
So if your brain is stuck within a high beta state and you're having chronic long-term stress responses to whatever's happening within your life,
Frontal lobe.
right, all the prefrontal cortex, you never really get to access all the content that's in the midbrain and the limbic system and the amygdala. You don't really get that opportunity to access that midbrain until you drop down into an alpha state, into a theta state, into a delta state. Mm-hmm. And then that's when you can lift up that prefrontal cortex, and you can look at, all that conditioned belief system that is ingrained within our neurology and within our belief system. And then you can start that transformative process, that bridge between the subconscious and the conscious, that sweet spot for healing and transformation.
Yep, exactly.
And to your point, Allyn, meditation is spot on for shifting those brain waves down, so you can access that stuff on your own.
And you can have two-way communication, and that's what a lot of people, I think, haven't experienced that themselves, or if they have, they explain it away. They don't believe that that's happening. And so the more you practice with meditation, then you start to recognize more, perceive it much more readily, and then you begin to form a relationship with it, whether it's higher self, Bob would call it total self, or whether it's some type of guidance from deceased loved ones, or just guides in general that are here helping you along your path. It's there, and even your body. I love this. I was listening to Hay House Radio years ago, when it was radio. It wasn't podcast, it was radio. And there was a show on it called that Venus Andrak did. And so I would stream this or play this radio all day while I was working, kind of in the background. And I really loved her show. And so one day she's telling us, ask your body what it needs from you, during meditation. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll try that. So the next time I meditate, I get all ready and, get in my state, and I've got my sound technology going. And so I ask, I go, okay, body, in my head, okay, body, what do you need from me today? And my body, I'm clairaudient, so I heard a voice, and the voice said, Butterfinger. And I said, no, I'm on a diet. we can't do a Butterfinger. And if I'm going to eat a candy bar, I want a Snickers, So it was so funny to me, though, that because I was expecting, even as I was getting into it, I was expecting a salad, carrots, But then that opened the door for me to go, oh, I can talk to my body, and my body can talk to me, and I can find out what it needs. So every once in a while, if I'm not actively engaged with my body, I'll get a message. Like one night I had a dream, and it told me I needed to take this thing. Well, at the time, I didn't know what that was, and I had to sound it out. And thank goodness I was able to bring it from the dream state to my waking reality. It was turmeric. And I had never heard of turmeric. It was before it got popular.
Right.
And then I looked it up, and it's like, it's for inflammation. I was having this place on my foot that, was inflamed. So you can definitely get, information that's helpful. Another time recently, and now I'm much more into my intuitive abilities just because of the work I've been doing, and I think as you are too. So I'll sometimes hear messages when I'm just standing up or walking from one room to the other. And I had a message that I needed to start using gel soap. Now, I didn't like that message because I was the kind of person that if I went to your house and you had gel soap, I would just be like, dang it, I want the bar of soap. But here's the thing, here's the trick. I got the message, right? It was delivered for a reason. I don't have to. I choose to, when I hear those messages, I choose to try to honor them. Otherwise, why ask, right? So to this day, I use gel soap. I did eat the Butterfinger, even though it ruined my diet. And every once in a while, my body will go, orange juice, give me orange juice. And then I don't usually keep it in my refrigerator. I have to go get orange juice. But that's what you can do. You can open up this two-way system that can be very helpful.
Mm-hmm. And, it's tricky. It is because we all have those periods, when we're developing our intuition, right? We're asking for these downloads, this information. We get it, right? And then we kind of like poo-poo it, and then we just, or we don't follow through with it, or we don't, follow the suggestions. And then it's like, why am I asking?
Right.
Literally, why am I asking if I'm not going to follow their, the suggestions? So the trick is to lean into it and trust it. So,
and then the other thing is journaling, because that's, especially when you first start out, one of the things people say the most that I hear is, well, I don't know if I'm making it up. I'm not sure that I can believe it. Where is that coming from? And so that's, if you just write it down, and you can even say, this is the craziest thing I'm about to write, but I'm going to write it. And so that you record it, you'd be surprised, especially if you're interested in developing your intuitive skills, you will be surprised at how often. And just as a Reiki practitioner, I remember I would be working on clients and I would hear certain messages or actually at some point I started hearing what I perceived was from body parts. And I would have this little angel on this side and this little devil over here, and I'd get the message, and the angel would go, you have to tell, you have to share. And this little guy would go, no, you can't do it. No, don't do it. And so I would have these arguments in my head as I'm working on the client. And I would always get to the point of, okay, I heard the message, I'm going to share it. And then that also helps you with validation, right? Mm-hmm. So I had those kind of things are what help you understand you're not just making it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Allyn, I sincerely appreciate the tips that I'm hearing for the listeners. The tips that I'm hearing from Allyn, I heard her say meditation helps to access the subconscious.
Yep.
I heard her talk about talk to your body, literally in an expanded state of awareness. Ask your body what it needs or what it wants. And then the trick is to listen and follow
Honor
through,
it.
right? Honor it. And then journaling, obviously, to help with the support of the validation and things of that nature. So those are just really practical and tangible tools. And you may be listening saying, yeah, I knew that, but you may not be practicing it. So it's a nice reminder to have the simplicity of these tools as well.
Yeah.
And so, Allyn, for those that are listening and hearing about the Monroe Institute for the first time, can you tell us where are you guys? What do you offer? What can people expect from the Institute?
So we're in Virginia, near Charlottesville, Virginia, and I would describe us as a meditation retreat center. So people come and they stay for like 6 days, and we have different programs. We have up to about 30 programs, and the focus is helping you get into different states of awareness that are intentional. So that's why we have different programs. Energy medicine is a different intention. Past life regression type activities would be a different intention. Remote viewing would be a completely different intention. And then we use the sound technology, Monroe Sound Science, to support, helping facilitate and helping you. It's just a support tool, supporting you to reach those different states of awareness and then recognize them. So it's like Bob started with the map of consciousness and he mapped it out. And so if you come to our flagship program called Gateway, that's what you learn. You learn what he called focus levels. So you will learn focus 10, focus 12, and they're numbered, but they're not hierarchical. They're purpose driven. And just an example, focus 10 is mind awake, body asleep. So that's a very foundational state to be in. It's also a state that if you master it, you're more likely to be conscious as you have experience when you're in these deep, deep meditative states. And then we go from there.
That sounds lovely. That sounds lovely. So somebody like myself coming in from Colorado into Virginia, then I would have the accommodations in the actual, is there a ground? Is there a campus?
Yes. So what you do, we actually have a shuttle that picks you up. So all you got to do is get to the airport or the train station. Then we'll pick you up, or you can drive if you live close by. Then you come to campus, and it is full room and board. To take one of our programs, you have to stay here. And it's small groups. One venue holds 24 participants, and one venue holds 19.
Lovely. I may have to take a look at your
yes,
upcoming
you need to
offerings.
come.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a wonderful trip. So, Allyn, I want to express a tremendous amount of gratitude for the energy that you're bringing into the podcast. I mean, you're just vibrant, you're exuberant, and you're grounded and expanded in such a beautiful way that you truly are embodying the various different levels of expansion for consciousness. So I know that the Institute and the students are very blessed to have you as part of the CEO. And I know your presence has been felt there for years. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And listeners, my invitation for you this week is to really take what Allyn said, the simplicity of what you can do to help support yourself and create the awareness and the mindfulness of what your intention is. But allow the intention to guide the healing process for you, and just watch it unravel in the ways when you're sitting in meditation, the way that you are in presence and mindfulness and in relationships with others, and how you are with yourself in the love and the compassion that you have for yourself. So listeners, so much wisdom in today's episode. I hope you listen to it twice, and be sure to share it with your friends and family. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. That was lots of fun.
Good. I love doing these.
Yeah, they're fun, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you exactly when this is going to be aired, but
Okay.
I'll be in communication with Maggie. I'm sure she will direct all the information where it needs to go with the proper hands and
Right.
channels. And I do hope that our paths cross at some point in time in person.
Yes, I would love for you to come.
Yeah, that would be lovely. So much
Oh,
gratitude
we
for
are. You said Colorado. We're going to do a live event in November at the Guy Sphere. I don't know how far away you are.
I'm right around the corner.
Okay.
I'm downtown Boulder. So tell me what's
Oh,
happening at Gaia.
it's the Gaia Sphere. They do. It's November 7th, 8th, and 9th, and it's going to be featuring Monroe Institute. So we're bringing in. I'm one of them, but 6 of us are coming in to do 2-day immersive.
That's great. And so
7th, 8th, and
immerse.
9th. Well, I guess it's 8th and 9th, whatever that Saturday, Sunday is.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, how would the listeners gain access for signing up for that if I put it in the show notes?
that I don't know. You could ask Maggie if she could find out for you, but it's a Gaia question because we're
Okay.
we're just showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not handling the venue or the registration.
So have you been to Gaia yet?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so that big clam,
Yes.
the amethyst clam. I was about ready to bring that up when you were talking about the crystals, and I was just like, I can't describe this clam
Yeah.
on the podcast. There's no way. So, okay, well, great. Yes.
Yeah.
If I know you're going to have a busy schedule, but if time does allow and you have some personal downtime, love to take you out on a hike or something that
okay.
fills your soul. I won't kill you.
Okay.
But I'll get you out in nature. What Boulder is known for.
Okay. Well, good. And Maggie actually lives right near you somewhere. She's in the area.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep. She moved there from Texas about 6 months ago.
Did she move with her and her family, or does she move as a single person? Or
she's a husband and young daughter, and she has a son that lives with them too. That's old, out of the house, but came back. But her daughter's 5 years old.
Oh my goodness! Watch her be in my husband's elementary school.
Oh, that'd be too funny.
That would just be a very small little world as we live in, right?
Yeah.
But that's good to know. I will definitely mention that in my communication. So
okay. Well,
much
thank
gratitude.
you. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah. Likewise. Blessings to you.
Bye.